Ich mache schnell, weil ich habe ein kleines bisschen überzogen und offensichtlich ist das nächste Thema auch wahnsinnig spannend. Fashion Insider hat getitelt, The Football Team That Finally Got Fashion Right. Und ich glaube, das ist ist schon Aussage genug für das nächste Thema. Es geht um den AC Milan, The Fusion of Soccer and Fashion. Sie haben es geschafft, das Thema Merchandising oder Sportmerchandising in ein bisschen anders zu interpretieren, als das vielleicht der klassische Fußballclub macht. Sie kooperieren mit Modemarken, sie haben ein anderes Look and Feel, als das so üblich ist. Und was dahinter steckt und wie es funktioniert, das zeigt uns jetzt Peter Morgan, Marketing Director from AC Milan. Welcome on stage. Der Vortrag ist logischerweise in Englisch. The stage is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So pleasure being here today. I'm Peter Morgan from AC Milan. You may be thinking an Italian football club talking about fashion, and I've sent a Brit. So I apologize for that, and also for my lack of German. 2 years studying it at school is a long time ago. So I will do this in English. So yes, I will talk a little bit about our work in fashion today. This is a headline we were very pleased with. From the Business of Fashion, which is a big industry publication last year. Really, it's the output of a long-term strategy that we're only just beginning, and a lot of hard work from our team in Milan. But ultimately, why we're involved in fashion is to raise the profile of our brand, increase the meaning and relevance of our brand worldwide, and ultimately to try and generate more revenue that we can then put back into our team as we try and get AC Milan back to the top of world football. But I'm mindful as well it's late in the day, so we're going to start light and we're going to start with a game, and I need your help. So to introduce the topic, I'm going to show you 4 photos, and they connect into a very big pop culture story from last year, and I want you to help me connect the photos. There's no prize, because I forgot the Milan top I was supposed to bring with me. But I tell you what, the first person that does it, if you catch me afterwards, I'll send you one. And you'll also maybe be a bit embarrassed to kind of reveal yourself here, but let's start. So the first picture, this is West Reading, Pennsylvania, in the United States. And if you get it from this, you will have some explaining to do to the people around you. The second image, so this is Flight Radar, the popular flight tracking app. And this is core to the story that I'm going to talk through. And it had one of its most popular days ever. The day this story came kind of to fruition. Okay, the next one is these matching his and hers bracelets. Is anyone getting close to knowing what this is about? Yeah, there we go. We got some nodding. What's it around? I'll give the last clue. There we go. So it's Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. So without a doubt, I think the biggest pop culture story of last year. I would say definitely in the English-speaking world, but I also saw a good headline there showing that it carried through to the German-speaking world. So she was born in West Reading, Pennsylvania. So when she was flying back to the Super Bowl last year, Flight Radar was swamped with Swifties trying to work out whether she was coming back or not. The bracelets were matching bracelets they gave each other, and yes, 1989 was one of her albums. Why am I talking about this? Because actually core to our fashion strategy is this idea of tapping into broader culture. So we're just a football club, but how do we actually increase our relevance in broader culture? And I think this is a great explanation of why we're doing this and how we're going about doing it. What happened with this story was really simple, right? There's this audience of people that love the NFL and sports, and there's this audience of people that love Taylor Swift and pop culture. And it overlapped, and it doesn't happen too often, and it brought together worlds, people that are very passionate about one thing, and it helped them connect with people in their lives that are very passionate about another thing. And when you look at the data, actually the impact of this was massive. So this is Google Trends data showing people searching the internet, and red is Taylor Swift, and gray is Travis Kelce, and this is 3 years back from kind of running until the Super Bowl last year. And you can see Taylor Swift, kind of probably her album releases. I think this piece here is when Travis Kelce won the Super Bowl with the Chiefs, his team in 2023. You see this moment where they kind of got together. And then this moment is when the Super Bowl last year was coming. And everyone was wondering, is she going to come? And it suddenly, gained this relevance that was it was everywhere. To the extent that actually more people were searching for Travis Kelce in this moment than had been searching for Taylor Swift in the previous time frame, which is insane. And when you look at this at kind of on a human level, what does that actually look like? I loved this video, which was a family that they put on social media. The first half of the video is them celebrating the Chiefs' win in 2023. And then the second half is celebrating the video in 2024 once Taylor Swift has entered their lives.
How good? How? We won. How? Study.
So you see the difference, right? And I think the key thing for me there is, for the father and the grandfather, the second year meant more to them, and you can see that. It meant more because their whole family was involved and engaged in the story. And when you look at the compound effect of that, you had this absolutely crazy stat, which was the Super Bowl in 2024 was the most watched US TV broadcast since the moon landing. So 55 years of US history, global history, but we know the US, particularly US history. And this was the moment that broke the record. So it suddenly brought these audiences together, all of those households doing the same thing. It really had a massive impact. And for me, this is what was happening. Now, I'm not suggesting for a second the NFL set this up, but they did an incredibly good job of spotting this moment and making sure the NFL was part of the story and the game was part of the story and didn't get lost in the narrative. And that's kind of my starting point for what we're doing at AC Milan. So we look at that and we think, okay, we are a football club, we're a well-known football club, but how can we make our football club much more relevant to the world? This is something that a lot of football clubs are trying to do, right? We have a popular world we're in, but actually we realize if we can tap into broader culture, there's the opportunity really to connect with a much larger audience and then monetize that audience. Fashion particularly, the data points on this slide you can take with a pinch of salt because they're kind of from quick Google searches. But the size of the football market, football apparel sales around $10 billion a year. When you look at global fashion, it's around $1.8 trillion a year. So you can also see why football clubs are thinking, okay, if we can tap into that fashion audience, make our brand relevant for that audience, there's a huge opportunity for us there. This isn't new, right? The headline at the start we were very flattered by, but we're also very mindful this is a strategy other clubs are taking. PSG have built a 80 million euro a year retail business. Venezia have managed to punch really far above their weight, creating a brand that is really not kind of linked to their sporting performance whatsoever. And actually, I have to say that because we beat them yesterday. But we see this opportunity for Milan as well. So we are from one of the fashion capitals of the world. And when I look at the history of the club, I'll tell you something. When I was watching this football as a kind of 15-year-old, I did not look like that wearing this jersey. But there's something like an inherent legitimacy about the city, about the club, that means we can take a position in fashion that has some credibility there. But really, it was the kind of seeds of credibility, and it's something we've had to really work hard around to actually make sure that translates through to a measurable impact. And this is our objective, really. So how do we win football through fashion culture and really make the most of that legitimacy that we have already? This is our strategy. It's very, very simple, as all good strategies are. I think the first piece for us has been actually how do we make sure we appear to be credible in this space? Being cool does not come easy. You have to earn it. It's very easily lost. How do we make sure we're actually credible in the world of fashion? The second part has been, okay, how do we fast track that? How can we tap into the credibility of others to really accelerate this process? And then the third piece, we're owned by a private equity. How do we actually quickly show some returns so that this isn't just a piece of fun, it's actually something that has a measurable impact on the club, and we can improve the model, scale the investment, and keep this strategy going. The first part of this being credible I'm a marketer. For me, it's about going back to the basics and the 4 Ps, as any marketer learns in college. And so first we looked at the product and the price of our collections. The very first thing we did was recognize we're not experts, and so we hired in a few members of fashion brands from Milan to bring in the expertise to make sure actually we can do this properly. We're not going to make a fool of ourselves. Because as I said, I'm British, this stuff does not come naturally to me. So we need the people who know this world. The second piece we did was acknowledge that we needed products that really catered for all our audiences globally. So yes, we have a lot of fans that come to the stadium every week. They may have been coming for 20, 30, 40 years, but we also have a massive global fan base that is not coming to the stadium. And we have a broader, target base of people that maybe are interested in sports, but not necessarily a fan, or they're a fan of multiple clubs or players. So we invested in really increasing the quality and the selection of our products to make sure that we have something for everybody. Around promotion, while I can never claim to be cool myself, what I can understand fully is how easily you can lose it. So it's really important to us to invest in the creative in all of our campaigns, because for us as a brand, we're only going to be as strong as our weakest link. A great example there, we have a technical partner, Puma. Our home and away and third kit campaigns always look fantastic. But actually, if we want to be credible in fashion, that's not enough. Everything we do has to look fantastic. So we have invested in really making sure every campaign we launch, every product we launch properly feels like a credible fashion moment. We're also not afraid just to copy the fashion playbook. So we have a lot of brands in Milan, a lot of luxury brands. During Fashion Week or Design Week, if you're in Milan, you will see Gucci, Prada, Armani, all wrapping trams, all with big out-of-home adverts. And so we've really followed that approach to try and position us credibly within that space. Our reference point here is being a fashion brand. It's not kind of copying sports clubs. We've also invested in our placement, in our distribution. So we brought e-commerce in-house. We've opened new stores, including at our airport, or one of our airports, and also a flagship store in the city centre in one of the biggest tourist districts. A big part of that is to make sure we're capturing the margin from the sales we're making. And we've also, as part of our flagship store, opened a bottega, a small bottega, which is purely focused on our fashion collections. So that if you're visiting Milan, you come to the store, again, you can't credibly say we're not active in fashion, because if you go in this store, it is very much positioned in a fashion space. The second piece of the strategy is kind of cheating, right? How do we capture in some of the credibility of others? The first major piece for us was actually really changing the mentality of the club. So trying to change this focus from growing a football club into actually building a cultural brand. And so that's meant completely changing the approaches we have to engaging with talent, how we communicate our brand globally, and then the publications that we work with. And our proof point here is if we get a player with a new jersey on the cover of GQ, that item is definitely a fashion item because it's on the cover of GQ. So we work with perception is reality. If we can make this stuff happen, it deepens that credibility. We also then look carefully at who we partner with. So the Rolling Stones were coming to San Siro to play a concert 2 years ago, and so we reached out to them and put a capsule collection together where we brought our brands together. We work with Off-White, which is a luxury streetwear brand founded by Virgil Abloh. So he was American, but he was based in Milan. The company is based in Milan. And by working with them, we were really able to tap into that credibility in the luxury and fashion space that they have. And thirdly, with the New York Yankees. So 2 years ago, the Yankees took an investment in the club when we were bought by Redbird Capital. And we worked with them to put a collection together that really helped take our club to their market in the US. And again, if we're on merchandise with the Yankees to a US audience, we must be one of the top clubs in Europe. It's not a one-way transfer of value as well. We can offer something big back. So we can get product onto players in matches, which is still a massive moment of visibility. We can do interesting things with earned media that maybe the brands can't do on themselves. So when we announced our partnership with Off-White, we were playing away at Chelsea in the Champions League. We branded the team bus with an off-white and Milan graphic, and we drove it around the city. It was completely empty, but everyone thought the team were on it. It created a whole amount of hype on social media, on kind of international media, and was really successful again in a way that Off-White couldn't do on their own. And thirdly, we can access some really innovative, interesting ways to reach new audience. So we've launched a couple kits now. This is in Rocket League, which is an online gaming phenomenon, very US focused, very young. And we took a kit launch. We were the first European club to launch a kit in Rocket League. And we took this kit launch and the brands involved to an audience that were completely unaware of our club and these brands. So we can offer something back to these partners that maybe they can't get on their own. And this is a quote from the Business of Fashion article we were really pleased with. So it's this piece, we're not just ticking a box. We're really working hard on building that credibility, because we know the more credible we become, it just helps accelerate this strategy and the returns we get from it. I'll finish with the third part of the strategy, which, when you're owned by a private equity, is probably the most important part, which is actually how we drive commercial results. So how we show this is actually having a positive impact on our club and business. And I'll use our fourth kit as a good case study. So our fourth kit is really our fashion kit. We started this program in 2022. So if you don't know, most football clubs, at least for the last few decades, have normally had three kits: the home, the away, the third, which launch over the summer and are then used all season. And we pitched to Puma, our technical partner, the idea of doing this one-off fashion kit every year that we would wear in a single game, and we would do it with them and also a third-party collaborator from the world of fashion. And we pitched this in very much as a long-term strategy, because we knew we couldn't reach the end point we wanted to in the first year. And so we worked with an Italian streetwear brand called Neyman, quite small. They were an existing Puma partner, which helped with all of the contracting. And as you can see, I've just put a kind of proxy measure of Instagram followers to show the brand size. They had 33,000 followers, so a relatively small brand. We didn't make many shirts. We sold them out immediately, but it planted a seed that we were doing something interesting. The design was very bold. And it built a platform for the next year when we worked with Cochet, which is a French fashion brand. They'd already been involved in football with PSG. We did a jersey with them, a slightly bigger brand, had a bigger impact. We sold more units, and we kind of building year on year in that approach. The third year was with Pleasures, which is a pretty well-known US streetwear brand. And then this year we did it with Off-White. And we've gone from working with a third party that has 33,000 Instagram followers. Off-White had 10 million. And very quickly we were able to move from something that was really just a brand play into something that is now a major commercial moment for us and a key part of our revenue. Critical to success here has been really changing the way we think when we come to launch this kit. So again, we're not thinking of this as a football kit launch. We're thinking of it as a fashion launch. The first thing we did was actually put it in a time that for us was really quiet. So we tend to launch this kind of late February, when normally we're discounting kits. So anything we sell through our stores, the margin is relatively low. We were able to establish a new seasonal revenue stream, which obviously is very positive to the business. We really looked at changing the context of the launch. So one thing we did with a traditional football kit launch, you have the player kit and then you have the goalkeeper kit. And the goalkeeper kit really doesn't sell. And so the third year, we had a really beautiful goalkeeper kit, and we decided with Puma we would shoot all of the outfield players in the goalkeeper kit as well. And it actually looked so good, we ended up playing a second fixture where we swapped the colorways. So the first fixture, the outfield players wore the dark kit and a light one was on the goalkeeper. And then we surprised fans the next game by flipping it. And as a result of that, the kit sells. The second thing we've really tried to do is focus on non-traditional SKUs. So again, a football kit launch, it's normally just the jersey. What we've really tried to do is look at things like the shorts, the socks, and create fashion items from them. So for the Off-White kit, we had the player sock, which looked incredible. And so we, with Puma, came up with the idea of creating a Terry sock, which is very on trend at the moment, and selling that as a merchandise item. The third piece is then really looking at how we exploit routes to new audience. So with this Off-White kit, we work with Fortnite. We got the kit into Fortnite, we got it back into Rocket League, and I think in Fortnite it had 1 billion impressions, and in Rocket League, where it's a football game that you play with cars, there were 20 million goals scored worldwide with this kit, so it was engaging a completely different demographic. And the really critical piece for us here is making sure each year as we grow, we maintain this focus on scarcity. So we have items within the collection which are low quantities that sell out quickly, that drive the hype and keep this going. So things like this sock, jerseys with custom fonts, it's really critical to make sure that that credibility remains and grows. And this was the impact, which obviously then is what we use to build the business case to keep growing our investment in this area. So this one actually was, in terms of a kit launch, is our all-time best-selling kit launch for a fashion kit which is not aimed at our core fan base. We broke our daily record for our e-commerce, and what we see is a really clear and measurable impact then through to other product lines, so people buying more products from us as we've established that wider selection. A really key one for us from this strategy is actually 70% of these purchases came from outside Italy. So these kits were not really bought by our core fans. They will buy our home kit. We did an anniversary kit for our 125th anniversary. That's the kit the real core fans are buying. But maybe the buyer in China that vaguely knows us but also knows PSG and wears PSG, they're buying this kit. And the last point, it's really helping us build up our presence in crossover media and fashion media. And again, the more we build that presence up, the deeper our credibility runs, and the more successful the strategy. So very quickly, takeaways. I think for us, and I think a lot of sports, fashion culture offers a route to really increase the meaning and the relevance of our brands. What's really clear to me from our experiences, it needs credibility. You can't get to the end point immediately. You have to, do the hard work, live it to be credible. And that is a long-term strategy. It's disciplined execution, and it's making sure you don't mess up. Because with fashion, it's very easy to not be cool. It's much harder to be cool. And that third point for us is critical. Not every sports brand is in the same boat, but being owned by private equity, we have to show returns. If we're just doing this and having fun, it's not going to last very long. We have to make sure we generate the returns to keep the program building. So I hope that's given a bit of background on what we're doing in fashion and has proved interesting.
Peter, I think it's super impressive what you did, and you talked just one question. You talked a lot about credibility, but it's always about credibility in the pop culture and fashion world. And I think a lot of clubs here have the fear that maybe if you're going this route, that we lose credibility with the core fans.
Yep.
Is this different in Milan because you are a fashion city, or do we have the same faults and problems?
I think we have a bit more leeway because we are a fashion city, so it's something that people expect us to be active in. It's also a different market. We don't have the fan-owned model in the same way that, say, Germany does. It is a challenge, though. Ultimately, the fans' reaction to this stuff, the core fans, depends on whether you're winning or not. 2 years ago, we were competing. We launched the fourth kit, and the fans thought it was the most amazing thing ever. This year, we launched it. The core fans were not particularly pleased with it because the team was not playing particularly well when they wore it. So it is.
So they look at different stuff.
They look at different things. Ultimately, the message we try and take to the fans is we are doing this ultimately to grow our revenue, to invest back into the team. Italian football broadcast revenue is not the same as the Premier League. We have to be more creative to try and catch up, and this is a core way for us to do that.
Very interesting, and good luck for the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
One more.
Thank you.